Hey guys, George from SOUNDTRAXX here. Today we're going to talk about speaker selection and how to pick the best speaker for your model. In our product line at SOUNDTRAXX, we have a wide range of different speakers, sizes, shapes, and power outage to best fit that manufacturer's model that you're working on. And we've also got accessories such as speaker baffles and speaker gaskets that can also help with your installation. So let's take a look at the details of what you need to do to select the speaker for your model. Now, with our many speakers that you can select from, we have a lot of different sizes and shapes to help best fit inside the model. Now, the first thing you'll want to do is you'll want to determine how much space you have inside the model. In many cases, there may already be a baffle enclosure already built in the location to put the speaker. In those cases, then you would select the speaker that best fits. In a lot of narrow hood diesels, you'll see the 16mm by 35mm oval speaker that's used. You'll also see a lot of 1-inch round 28mm speakers that you'll see in a lot of steam engines. Now, these have been really popular and really good, but once you don't have those already built in, then it's a matter of choosing. So if you don't have one, that's where you need to look and see what the available space is. Now, once you determine how much space you have for a speaker, then you can go to our catalog, which you can download free off of our website. And in the back, you have a list of all the different speakers that we've got, their sizes, dimensions, and things like that. It's also listed on the packaging. So if you go to your local hobby store, you can see the packaging there and pick one. Now, once you've picked a speaker, then you want to make sure that you have a baffle. And we have some commercially available baffles for our round speakers. Now, the oval speakers, again, because some of the models do come with baffles, we don't actually have a commercially available baffle for them. But building a baffle for them is really easy. Now, one of the biggest things that we need to talk about is power rating. With our original Tsunami and any of our sound decoders beforehand, we typically had a 1-watt rated amplifier. Now, this was kind of generous as it was a little bit less than 1 watt, but it was capable of delivering up to 1 watt. Now, with our new generation, the Tsunami 2 and our Economies, we have many decoders in our product line now that offer 2 and sometimes 3 watts of power available to you as the user. One of the biggest things we heard a lot was we wanted it louder. And so we did. We put a much bigger amplifier. So what you'll see is on a lot of our product documentation here, this is our TSU 21P NEM, you'll see on the back here, and it's documented as far as what the power rating is. This particular decoder is actually rated at 2 watts. So what does that mean? That means we can't take our 1/2 watt speaker here, this 1/2-inch round, and tie it in and then crank the volume up, because what's going to happen is you're going to overdrive the speaker and potentially damage the voice coil and or the diaphragm, and then what'll result is damage to the decoder, because if the voice coil is damaged, it can create a direct short, which then of course overloads and damages the amplifier. So you really want to make sure to take care that you have the proper power rating in your speakers. Now, how do we do this? Here's another example. This is our mini cube speaker. This speaker is rated at 0.7 watts. These have become very, very popular in recent years for use because of their small size and their compactability. But because they're 0.7 watts, we don't want to put 2 watts of power through it. So what do? We take a second one, we mount the 2 decoders or the 2 speakers in series, and then now you have 1.4 watts, which is well within the tolerances of the 2-watt amplifier. Now, another way to help fight the power rating is to lower your volume. So if you have to use a 1-watt speaker with a 2-watt amplifier, you can cut your volume to about 1/2, and therefore you're not overloading or overdriving the speaker. But keep in mind, anytime you reset that decoder, it's going to go back to a master volume of 3/4, which will then potentially overdrive the speaker. So this is one of the biggest things that you want to make sure that you pay attention to when you're installing your speaker. So now let's take a look at some wiring techniques and how to do your speakers. So when you're installing your speaker, the first thing is if you just have one speaker and your power rating is within the tolerances of that of the decoder, then you simply take your 2 purple wires, attach it to the 2 wires terminals on the speaker, and solder it in. Now, with what we're doing, polarity isn't that important. So if you're doing just one speaker, pick a purple wire to be the positive and attach it and the negative to the other side. Now, when you're using multiple speakers, this is where it becomes a little bit more critical. Pick a positive and then be consistent throughout the range. And we're going to talk about our ways to wire them in. So first of all, we're going to talk about parallel wiring. This is where you take 2 speakers and you wire them up in parallel. Now, wiring them up in parallel does create a 4 ohm load, and it's going to be more taxing on the amplifier. So we actually recommend that you don't do it this way. You're still going to get an increase in volume with series, and we'll talk about that in a second. But running in parallel, you're potentially running more risk at damaging the amplifier. So try to stay away from that if possible. Now, in series wiring, as you can see here, series wiring is going to be better for your amplifier because it's going to create a 16 ohm load, and therefore it's going to be less taxing on the amplifier. The amplifier doesn't have to work as hard. Now with this, you're also going to get the increase in volume because the two speaker cones are now working together to create more volume. And you're also going to be better with your power rating because your two speakers are going to add together for the power consumption. So if you go back to our mini cubes and you run the two mini cubes in series, you're going to have 1.4 watts of power distribution from there. So your 2 watt amplifier is going to be perfectly fine and safe with that. Now, if you have the room, our mini cubes have allowed you to be able to create a series parallel situation, as you can see here. And this is where you can fit 4 mini cubes inside of a model. Now, we've done this with some of our demo models that you probably have seen at some of our trade shows. Now, this one definitely gives you a lot more volume, but it also gives you a lot better clarity of the sound because the 4 speaker cones are now working together. Now, for more information, please refer to our installation guide on our website at SOUNDTRAXX.com under the Manuals tab, and it'll go into a lot more detail than what we did here today on the video. And if you have any questions, please feel free to call us. We'll be happy to help anytime.